Hello, everyone, and welcome. I am Marco Patricio. I am a small business expert. I help businesses like yours and big businesses and really businesses of all sizes, um, essentially with marketing, with how to stand out in their field, whatever that field might be. So today we're going to be doing a mastermind on the most effective marketing tools. And this really, in an ideal world, should be an interactive session. So if you are here, it is likely because you have some questions about marketing. And instead of waiting for us to get to those, you can pop those questions into the Q&A or the chat, and I'll answer those directly. So I think it's a really great opportunity as small business owners. Often we have questions that we're wondering, but we're wondering them in isolation. So this is a really amazing opportunity, whatever your question is, whatever your business is, to just get that asked directly. So again, the Q&A and the chat below is where you're going to put any and all questions that you have, and please do. But what we're going to start with is some questions that we've had from previous sessions from previous small business owners, and also following the session that we did on Tuesday, which was about marketing tools, low and no cost marketing tools specifically. So the first question that we're going to start with is, what is the cheapest way to start with marketing? And again, we just had an entire webinar about this topic. But in my mind, the cheapest way that anybody can start with marketing are all going to be three things. So the first thing that I think all Main Street businesses should do, or anybody with a retail location really, is fill out their Google business profile. So your Google business profile is the thing that allows you to appear on Google Maps. And as a local business, Google Maps is going to be one of the places that a lot of people are going to be finding us. So people don't think about it this way, but Google is the biggest English language search engine, and all of the extensions of Google are part of that search volume. So if people are looking in your local area, they're going to be looking on Google Maps. Maybe they'll look on YouTube. Any of those Google properties are going to come up when people search for things, whether it's on Google or on Google Maps or whatever that might be. So it's very important to always be where your customers are already looking for you. Because if people are typing in your niche or your industry and you're not showing up in Google Maps, even though you're just around the corner, you're going to miss out on customers that somebody else will gladly take. So take a look at Google business profile, and make sure that that is filled out. So you want to have all the accurate information about your hours, your location, how people can get in touch with you, et cetera, et cetera. But you also want to have things like photos that show people what it's like inside your store, so they can get an idea of what's in your store, if the product they're looking for is there, because you might be a kitchen supply store, but you might be catering only to restaurants, for example. And so you don't want to come and have people who are looking just for a spatula for their kitchen coming in being disappointed, or vice versa. And also what's very important in Google Business Profile is keywords. So we talked about this on Tuesday, but one of the most important things you can do is put in the keywords of all the products that you hold in your store. So when people are searching for brand names, for example, if they're looking for Nike running shoes and they search Nike into Google Maps, that's a great way to win some of that search over your bigger competitors. Another way that I think is really great is events. I think increasingly marketing, especially for small business, is moving towards events, to being in your actual local community. And events are really easy to do because all they require is a reason to have an event. One of the easiest ways to generate a reason is to do a collaboration. So if you are a store that is around a certain interest group, you can collaborate with somebody that exists in that interest group in your community or on Instagram or anywhere that anybody has an audience. So the example that we use, let's say you are a cooking supply store, you could bring in a guest chef that you are friends with, that is in your community, and they could give a lecture or teach people how to cook a certain dish or whatever it might be, and you can hold that event in your space. But even just going to events is going to be a great way to market, participating in events, sponsoring events, providing events with whatever it is that you do. That is going to be a great way to get exposure. And then I think another great way that is very cost effective to get started with marketing, that is more of a long-term play, but that's joining Facebook groups. So looking on Facebook for your interest groups, joining and having conversations in those spaces, just so that people become more familiar with your brand. And also if those groups don't exist, so if you notice that you are a running store and there's no running community in your area, you have the opportunity to create that for your customers. So when we're thinking about anything to do with community, what we want to be doing is giving a gift to our customers. So we want to be doing the thing that is going to make their lives better. So if you are a running store and there's all these runners around, but those people aren't connected to one another, your store can be the link between all those different people. And this is true in any industry. Often your customers are connected through you. So those are some cheap ways to get started with marketing. All of those ways are free. And I would recommend you doing all of those. But the first place that you could start today, right after this, is Google Business Profile if you haven't already. And if you do already have it, you should make sure that it's optimized. You should go put in the keywords of all the products, all the brands that you hold, so that you're more findable when people are looking for you on Google Maps. I think that is that for that question. Again, if you have any questions of your own that are specific to your business, please put them in the chat or the Q&A, and I will answer them here right now for you. So the second question that we have here, what are common mistakes that businesses make with their marketing? I think this is such a big fear that small business owners have. You know, we have limited time, we have limited budget, we don't have the same resources that bigger customers have, but we know that marketing is very important. And so a lot of people have this anxiety that they're going to be doing the wrong thing. Michelle is asking, where do you enter your keywords on your Google business page? So Google has changed a little bit in the last little bit. So it's gone from Google My Business to Google Business Profile. There should be keywords. If there isn't a keywords section, I believe that you can put those keywords in your description. I think there's a longer form description that you can use. But I believe that there is like a keyword specific SEO section, unless that has changed in the new update. So then the question that we're on was about common mistakes that businesses are making with their marketing. And I was saying this thing that a lot of people are anxious about. I think one of the biggest things that I see is people, I think, spending money too early. I think that this is a massive mistake that people make. They assume that if you just pour money onto the problem, that you will see results, which often isn't the case. So the thing with all the advertising platforms that we use, so the Googles, the Facebooks, etc., they are very happy to take your money, and it doesn't matter to them whether you see results or not. So if you don't see results from your advertising, they say, but that's a problem with you. You should have better creative. You should have better targeting. You should X, Y, and Z. But the reality is that not everyone should be spending money on marketing, and it certainly shouldn't be the first thing that you do. So I think one of the biggest mistakes that businesses make is spending money very early on, going direct to, paying for Google ads or going direct to paying for Facebook ads, and thinking that that's going to result in more customers. And often that is not the case. It's not the case for many reasons, one of which being that when you're in those arenas, you're competing against competitors with much larger budgets than you. And so that is going to be, something that if you are paying $100 and they're paying $1,000, more people are going to be seeing theirs. And so your potential customers are going to see more of their content. But also it's just very discouraging. So, if you have a limited amount of money, it becomes very high pressure and it becomes very immediacy focused. which is not what we want to be doing when we are thinking about marketing. Marketing is always a long play, unless we're doing a Super Bowl ad or something, which I don't think anybody here is doing. Then we should be thinking about how to really grow a marketing system where we can consistently find and convert customers. So I think spending money too early is definitely one of the most common mistakes that people make in their marketing. And I think another one is being in too many places. Again, as small business owners, we have limited resources. One of those resources that is very limited is time. And so I always encourage people to try to focus on one platform at a time, and really make that your strategy. So if you are successful on one platform, and this is true for the smallest business, but even for massive businesses, if you are successful at one platform, or you are successful at two platforms, you are going to be way more successful than 99.9% of businesses if you really crack the code on any one platform. If you become really popular on Instagram or Facebook or TikTok or whatever it might be, that is going to be much more effective for you. So I say focus on one thing at a time, focus on one thing that you can do well, because focusing your efforts is going to make obviously your time and your effort more effective. And it's also going to make it much easier to get a real idea of what affects your marketing in a positive or a negative way. When you're doing everything everywhere, it's sort of just panic and chaos, but you want to be very focused. You want to have a strategy. You want to have a hypothesis. You want to test it out. You want to see if it works. If it does work, you want to work out how to scale it. If it doesn't work, you want to work out why it didn't work. So you want to be very careful, very slow, and you want to be thinking. And I would advise everyone always, the thing that you should be optimizing for when we're talking about marketing is think about how you can spend the least possible money on any and everything. So can I please comment on preference? Can you comment preferences on direct? What are my preferences on direct marketing versus social media? Great. So I think that direct marketing and social media both have their place when you use them together. So one of the things that I talk about that is the most important thing for people to do before they start marketing is working out what their end goal is going to be. So when you bring in all these people from your marketing efforts, if your marketing is very successful, which we all hope that it will be, I'm answering this question live, which we all hope that it will be, then what is going to happen? So if tomorrow morning, 1 million people show up on your website, how able are you going to be to convert those 1 million people into customers? The answer for most of us is not extremely. And so actually we want a small flow of people coming in so we can optimize every part of that funnel. We can work out, when someone comes to our social media and, we go like their post or we send them a DM or whatever it might be, it's more likely that they will look at our link or click on our website or whatever it might be. So I think of direct marketing as the way to actually convert customers, of course. One of the things that I am a massive proponent of is that everyone should try and have an email newsletter if it makes sense for their business. If you're doing e-commerce, you should have an email list at very least, because email is still the most direct way to get in touch with customers. They've given you permission to message them, and there is no hierarchy when it comes to email. If I get an email from you, or I get an email from your competitor, or I get an email from the government of Canada, it all comes into the same inbox. And so everyone has equal opportunity there. So I think that the best strategy is to have a funnel that ends in direct marketing. So let's say it's your email campaign or it's your Facebook ads or whatever it might be, and use social media to feed into that funnel. So the great thing about social media is that everyone's there. It's a lot of people, but it's not a lot of people necessarily that are going to become your customers. So if you work out how you're going to convert those people in the end, so maybe you say, we're going to post a lot of videos of our service. Let's say you're a chiropractor. Let's say, we're going to post a lot of chiropractic videos on our Instagram or on our TikTok or on our Facebook. And we're going to directly market to those people. We're going to send them a targeted campaign for anybody that has, liked more than 5 of our Instagram videos. We're going to send them a campaign that says, hey, here's a special offer for you. You can, get 10% off this weekend if you come in. So I don't think that there's a direct marketing versus social media, but I think that they're both very important in their own way. But it's always important to work on how you're actually going to convert those eyeballs once you get them. So social media is the way that we get the eyeballs generally, and direct marketing is the way that we convert them into customers, whether it's bringing them onto our store, giving them an offer, or getting them into our email newsletter, which again, I highly recommend that people have. So let's take a look at some of the questions that we have in the chat. So Monica is trying to market a book that they wrote, and they want to know how they can best market a book. I think that books specifically, I mean, any media that you consume is very interesting, because the thing that you want to be doing is getting people to experience it. So if you have a Facebook ad, for example, that says, there's a new book from Monica. If I don't know who Monica is, I'm very unlikely to buy that new book. Maybe Monica can say, here is, the description of that book. That's closer, but I'm still probably not going to convert from that unless, I'm familiar with their work, or I'm very into that niche, or whatever it might be. I think one of the most important things when it comes to consumable things, whether that's food or whether that's a book, is that people get a taste of what that thing actually is. So in this case, maybe they get to read the first chapter, for example. And you can do this in a lot of ways. I think offline, obviously, you can do events. You can partner with local bookstores, for example, to have readings, or maybe you could get a bunch of authors together and collaborate on an event like that, facilitate that through your local community, use the connections that you already have. And then the other thing that I think you can do when it comes to online is, reading the book. There is precedent on TikTok, for example, where people will tell the synopsis of a book as if it is a story that happened to them. And then they say, and if you want to find out what happens next, here is this book. So if it's a murder mystery, for example, they'll say 5 people get on a train and only 4 come out. If you want to find out who it was, go read the book. That's a horrible example, but it is an example. Another thing that you could do is, post yourself reading the first chapter of the book, whether that's on YouTube or whether that's on Facebook or whatever it might be. And you could potentially use that as a tool to use direct marketing for. So you could have a direct marketing campaign that is on Instagram, for example, that says, here's this exciting synopsis for this book. If you want to find out next, you can actually listen to the first chapter now on this YouTube video, or on this Facebook video, or on this Instagram video. And that's a great way to generate interest in that thing. So I think really events and letting people sort of get a taste of what it is what works best when it's a consumable thing. But in all of these things, actually, I do have to mention, I think it's a really good idea to start building audience before you need them. I think this is one of the most important things that advice that I can give to anybody. Try build audience, try build relationships before you need them. When you're asking people for favors, if you now go to a bookstore, for example, and say, hey, I just wrote a book, that's very different to if you've been going to this bookstore for 5 years, you know the owners, they've read your work before, and you say, hi, it's me, me, I wrote a book. Do we want to do this event here? Versus going cold into a situation saying, hi, you've never met me before, but I wrote a book. because that's sort of not how the world works. So I think it's a very good idea to start building an audience before you need to utilize them. Again, email is a really great way to do that. Obviously, social media is a great way to do that, but we all wish that we had big social media presences. But I think it is important, especially with relationships, for events and those sort of things. Try build them as early as you can. So if you are in a situation where you're launching a product or your book is coming out a year from now, now is a really good time to get started building those relationships, building that email newsletter, building that same sort of excitement, because what you could do is you could say, here's the synopsis for this book, but it's only coming out in 6 months, or it's only coming out in a year. And if you follow this newsletter, every month or every week or whatever it might be, will give you a new little snippet or introduce you to a new little character. So it allows people to get excited to follow the interest. I will answer this question. Catherine's question is, what is the best practice for sending emails? Which has been partially answered, and thank you very much for that. But to say it out loud to everyone, Catherine's concerned that if she sends too many emails, people will unsubscribe, which is a very valid point. The thing that I always say about emails is that you should send an email at a frequency that allows you to send a really good email that is worth opening. So if you only have enough to say once a month to update people on that your audience would genuinely care about, only send an email once a month. There are emails that I am subscribed to that are on all sorts of different frequencies. And the other thing that I would say is, like any of these things, we don't only want to be on the giving end, we also want to be on the receiving end. And by that, I mean, you don't only want to be sending emails, you also want to be reading emails. So sign up to other people's emails, newsletters, see what their frequency is, see if that's annoying to you, see if every email is good, see, what their subject lines are, et cetera, et cetera. I think that one of the best ways to learn is by seeing what other people are doing, other people with more resources or more time or more experience, and emulating that. So if you can send a really good email every week that your audience is genuinely going to care about, send an email every week. If you can only do that once a month, amazing, only do it once a month. If you can only do that once in a blue moon, I'm subscribed to email newsletters that have no actual frequency. And it's just sort of whenever the person sends feels like sending one out. And those are actually my favorite, because I know that I'm only going to get an email when it's going to be something interesting, when it's going to be something that I care about. So, as businesses, I think we get anxious about, having products or your whatever it might be, and then work out the frequency based on how often you can send a good email based on that format. So come up with a format that people will want to open first. Like, think of what is an email that I would be excited to arrive in my inbox, and then think of the frequency that would match that, or experiment with the frequency. And obviously an indicator is that if people are unsubscribing, you might be sending too soon, but it also might be an indicator that your emails are either, and I don't mean this as a criticism, but it could mean that it could be an indicator of something else to do with the emails. Maybe the emails aren't providing value, which really is what it's going to come down to. Maybe the customers signed up for email for one reason and they're receiving email for another reason. This is a very common thing as well. So people will say, sign up to our newsletter and we'll let you be the first to know about our product development schedule or whatever it might be, or we'll give you insider information, and then all they get is promotions. So that can also make people upset and want to unsubscribe from the email list that you have. A lot of questions rolling in. Thank you so much, people, for asking questions. Let me see what is happening here. I'm going to answer, I'm going to try to get to all these questions, but I'm going to answer the ones that I think are most applicable to most people first, and then we'll come loop back. So Susanna has a question. What is the best way to start building an audience from scratch if you don't have one and the business hasn't launched yet? What is a good starting point? So that is a great question. It depends almost entirely on what the business is. But when it comes to building any audience, I think the most effective strategy of creating any sort of content is documentation. And if you are about to launch a business, the reality is that a lot of what you are doing is things that are very interesting that people don't get to see a lot of. So before we've launched a business, there's a lot happening, in order to do that. So I, right now, am following a bagel store, and they are not open. So they are showing, they went through the journey of showing the place that, choosing the retail location and then renovating the retail location and then working out what the recipes are going to be. And so they have this thing where like, there is a bagel place opening in your neighborhood soon, and that is interesting information to you. If you are a person that A, lives in this neighborhood, which I am, and B, likes bagels, which I am. And so in anticipation of knowing when this bagel place opens, I'm also getting to see this entire journey. So I feel very connected to the outcome and the success of that business. So that is for a retail location, but it's true, I think, of any business. I think the mistake that people often make with a pre-launch business is that they try and create sort of lifestyle content. So they'll post just like, they'll have an Instagram account that's just pictures that are sort of the feeling of what their brand is going to be like. And if you think about it as an audience, as a consumer, we have no reason to be interested in that because we don't even know, what the store is yet or what the business is yet. So I don't think mystery is the best strategy, to be honest, although it's one that everyone always chooses. I think documentation, invite people into that process, show them what you're thinking about. What are you doing? Are you developing products? Show them the product development cycle. I think as small business owners, what we shouldn't be afraid to do is to let people in on what it is that makes us a small business, the reality of being a small business. You see so much of this on TikTok, for example, where people will launch massively successful businesses because people feel invested because they've seen the journey. Someone will say, I'm starting a fashion brand, and they will show everybody buying the fabric and finding the factory and sourcing, the buttons or whatever it might be, and how they designed all the products. And so people are very interested in things that have a story. And, this is one way to tap into this. So I think choose whatever your medium is going to be. And your medium should be dictated by two things. Your medium should be dictated by where your potential audience is going to be. If you're opening a business, you probably already know who your audience is going to be. So where are those people? What platforms are they spending their most time on? Are they on Instagram? Are they on Facebook? Are they on YouTube? Are they on TikTok? Are they on Pinterest? Where are they? And then giving them the necessary information they need to get excited about your brand. So the other thing that should dictate what platform you're on is your ability to execute on that platform. Now, that doesn't mean that you have to be, Steven Spielberg or Greta Gerwig if you are on YouTube. It just means, do you have, access to filming equipment? If you don't, but you still want to create video content, there's Reels, there's TikTok, there's all these places that you can do it. If you're not comfortable having your face as, the image of your brand, what other sort of strategies, what other sort of platforms can you use? That is another thing that I would say. Don't be afraid as much as you possibly can. I know that everyone has their own unique feelings about it, but as much as you possibly can, don't be afraid to have your face as the face of your brand. In this day and age, people connect so much more with small businesses, connect with things that are meaningful to them. And so, we all want our businesses to be successful. And I would say that, if you're sure, maybe you're a little bit nervous on camera or whatever it might be, but how much are you willing to do in order to make your business successful? My guess, because we all know how hard it is to actually run a business, is that you would trade a little bit of discomfort in order to have your business be successful. So I hope that I've answered your question, Susanna. But yeah, so without getting into too many specifics, because the specifics are going to be different for everybody, but I think that is the best way if you haven't launched yet, is to start putting yourself out there on sort of mass media. And then again, you could translate that to something that you own. So you could translate the daily or weekly updates about what's happening in your developing business into an email newsletter that comes out once a week or once every 2 weeks that is saying, hey, here's everything that's happening in our business. So that is a way to get people more connected. And you want people to be closer to you, and you want people to be more directly reachable by you, because obviously when you launch your product, it's going to be much easier to convert those people into customers, because you're not trying to go out onto social media and grab all these people from all these places. What you're going to be doing is sending an email directly to the people saying, hey, our product is now launched. Please come to our store. Another idea, if you're starting an audience from scratch, I think, again, is events. Get involved in events now. Get involved in your community, because they are your community. These people are going to be your customers. So find an event that is related to your brand. Go there, introduce yourself to people, see what's happening, and talk to the other business owners that are running the events. I hope that has been a helpful answer. Okay, let's look at. What are the best way to market for a small bar that focuses on craft beer? We have a Google business profile and are seeking reviews. We also have a website, Facebook, and Instagram. Okay, so we're a small bar that's focused on craft beer. We have a Google business profile. We have a website, we have a Facebook, and we have an Instagram. My question to you would be, and this applies to anybody out there, look at what is working already. So where do you have the biggest audience, and why do you think the biggest audience is there? Do you think that a lot of people are going to your website, or a lot of people going to your Facebook, a lot of people going to your Instagram? My guess would be that most people are not going to your website. I don't imagine that being a massive thing, unless most people are coming from your Google business profile. But also you can link your Instagram to your business Google business profile. Sorry, this is such a tongue twister. I miss when it was called Google My Business. So again, here's what I would do if you're focusing on craft beer, is I would use that same documentation strategy that I was talking about. And documentation just means looking at the things that you're already doing in the day-to-day of running your business and showing those things to your customers. So for example, in a craft business, in a craft beer business, the thing that I would do is called cataloging. So I talked about this on Tuesday. If anybody was there on Tuesday, thank you for coming to both. But the idea of cataloging is this, is that when people come from your Google business profile to your Instagram or to your website or to your Facebook, Why do you think that they are coming to your website or your Facebook or your Instagram? I will tell you why people are clicking through from from Google Business Profile or from Google Maps is the reason that I do it, which is I want to see what you have in store. I want to know what your in-store experience is like. If you focus on craft beer, the thing that you should be doing is posting all the craft beers that you have. So people know if I'm into beer, I can go and say, oh, they have the Burdock Cherry B. I love that beer. I'm going to go to this craft beer thing. Another thing that you could do is, have, features of the people that are making the beer. I'm not sure how close you are to the production of these things, so I'm giving advice that may or may not be useful, and take what works for you. But I think for anybody, whether you are a craft beer bar or you are a bookstore or you are anything, or you're a bike store, or it doesn't matter. If you are somebody that has multiple products, the thing that should be on your Instagram, for example, should be all of the products that you have. People should be able to see, when I come into that store, what are the things that are going to be there. This is also a great idea, because if you're sitting there now thinking, wow, if I had to take a picture of everything in my store and post on my social media, that would be a lot of things to post on my social media. Exactly. That is exactly the point. So this is a great reason, because it reassures your customers. It can make or break the decision whether somebody actually comes into the store or not. It doesn't matter if anybody likes these posts, okay? It doesn't matter. What matters is they exist and that they are findable. So if you post every single craft beer that you have, and every time you get a new craft beer and you post that craft beer and you use all the hashtags, the name of the beer, what kind of beer it is, Toronto, the location, or wherever the location is. Sorry, I didn't get the location. I assumed it was Toronto. That is my fault. Then that's going to be more searchable on Instagram for people that are looking for craft beer in whatever city you're in, or this specific beer in whatever city you're in. But also, it is an opportunity for that to surface on the algorithm, because the more posts that you have, the more likely you're going to surface on those people's pages if you continue to make those posts. The next thing that I would do also, if you are focusing on craft beer, for example, is think of collaborations that you can have with other local businesses. Think of the intersections between beer and anything else in life. I always say to small business owners, think about the things that you enjoy first. So you own a small bar that focuses on craft beer. What other things do you like? Because I guarantee you that there's other people in your community that are going to like the same thing. So if you really like board games, you can have a board game event night at your small craft beer bar. You make it exponentially better by collaborating with, maybe there's a local board game bar. Why would you do that? A, they can provide the board games. It's beneficial to them. It's beneficial to you. B, you get to borrow their audience. And I think that this is so important. You get to borrow their audience, especially if they have a bigger audience than you. And even if they don't, you're splitting the effort. It's not up to you entirely to get customers into your store anymore. It becomes a group effort to get people to come to this event. An event that A, is going to be fun, B, is going to expose new people to your bar that probably haven't been there before, but are very into board games, let's say. And so that's what makes it a win-win for everyone. I think especially when it comes to things like beer, coffee, food, these are things that such a massive percentage of the population are interested in. So you really could intersect them with anything. You could have a running club that starts at the bar and ends at the bar. And then after the run, everyone goes into the bar and drinks a nice cold beer and gets refreshed and chats to the new friends that they made on the run. So there's infinite opportunities. So do those things, everything that I said, and then also look at events, look at collaborations with other businesses in your local community. And That is such a great way to get exposure. I think that events are really, 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 really underrated and much easier to do than most small business owners think. So I hope that that answers that question. Let's take a look. Gretel asks, could you provide a mystery example for a retail store utilizing the window display as a marketing tool? How to create excitement and or refer or cite for inspiration? This is a great question. I have a very specific feeling about this because I've done this before for brands. And so the thing that you have to think about is, are people going to be excited about whether you are there or not? Okay. And this is like something you really have to think of. The situations in which I've done this were for cannabis brands. And so we were towing a very delicate line between, you know, getting our customers excited that we're going to open in a neighborhood, and also dealing with the feeling that a lot of the people in the city had that there's too many cannabis stores opening. And, you know, if a cannabis store is opening in your neighborhood, depending on how you feel about that, that could mean any number of things. But the question is always going to come down to, how do you think your actual local community feels about your store opening there? The reason that I'm saying this is because if people are going to be excited about it, I wouldn't make it a mystery. So if people are going to be really excited that there's a new pizza place opening in their neighborhood, which why wouldn't there be? Then you should tell them. I don't think mystery is usually the best strategy because it makes it impossible to find people who are actually going to be your customers when your store opens. I think that it's much more beneficial to actually articulate exactly what it is that you're going to be doing and why people should be excited about it. So you can almost start creating a flag, for example, sorry, not an actual flag, a beacon that is going to attract your customers, and it's going to have your customers talking to their customers about it. So if you are a bookstore that's only going to sell books by people of color and women, for example, then amazing. You should literally say that. You should say coming soon. You know, think of an interesting way to say it. You know, maybe hire a copywriter, but you should say exactly what it's going to be. And why would you do that over making it a mystery? Because if I am someone that is interested in that niche, I am going to tell everyone that I know. I'm going to say, hey, did you see that just down the street, there's X, Y, and Z store opening? If people actually want your store to open, which they should, your customers are going to be really excited about it. So by creating a mystery, what you're doing is broadening the amount of people that are, whose interest is piqued, who go, oh, that's interesting. There's something near our neighborhood and we don't know what it's going to be. But the moment that your store actually opens, you're back to, you know, to step zero, because people will either be interested or they won't be interested. So I advise that what you start doing is, instead of trying to drum up mystery, you create just, you know, very explicitly evoke what it is that you're going to be doing. Unless, this is the one exception, unless you are opening an escape room or, you know, a magic store or something, or a murder mystery night or something like that. In which case, people who love mysteries are going to love that mystery. But in every other case, I think if you are opening a business and you have a storefront, you should very clearly detail what that storefront is. So many people, I think, put up their logo and say like something interesting is coming to Queen West or whatever it might be. That is not a great strategy, because you are robbing yourself of the opportunity to build community before you open. So if you tell people exactly what it is, what you'll see is when people come in, they'll say, wow, I've been waiting for so long for this place to open. I'm so excited. You'll have people coming in on the first day, because the people that are in your audience, the people that are in your community, the people that care about what you are going to be doing most, are there for your store, and your store is there for them. So they will be there on the first day. So that is my answer to that question. Just dismissing those. These questions are so great. Thank you so much to everyone who is asking questions, and I hope that my answers are exactly what you are looking for. If anybody else has questions, we do have about 13 minutes left. Keep those questions going. I will try, pick and choose the ones that are the broadest and most useful to people. Question here. Nang is doing cleaning business in London, Ontario, and they want to know which platform they would choose. What are the best strategies to achieve a successful business on that platform? I think that if for cleaning, so for any service business specifically, people search for service businesses when they are in need of that service. So that's going to be very, very search based, unless there's something specific about your business that that isn't inherent, I guess, to what your competitors are going to be doing. So if there is something that is specifically unique, if you are a service business that with a specific focus, for example, so let's say you're a massage parlor versus a sports massage, recovery thing. Those are two very different things. So massage, be very specific about what that is and show people that that's in your community. But or cleaning. If you have, if you actually have the best cleaning service in the entire world, and everything is so clean that you could eat off the floor after, then that's slightly different. So when you are doing a service business, and I'll try and make this broad so that it applies to everyone here. When you're doing a service business, the strategy that you have online is twofold. You obviously want to be discoverable. You want to be searchable in your area. So that's going to include everything Google. That's going to be Google Maps, Google Business Profile. It's going to be Google search probably, but that's going to be very competitive. It's going to be just people paying for ads. The other strategy that you can do where there is an opportunity is in documentation, and specifically in video documentation. So the thing about most services is that people are only vaguely aware of what exactly is happening during the service. And without going to the service, you don't know what the service is doing exactly. So for cleaning, for example, you could do before and afters. You can look, advice for anybody actually is, if you're thinking about what content to create for your service business, look for your industry on YouTube or on TikTok, and you will see thousands and thousands and thousands of people who are successfully creating content and getting customers by doing your service business specifically. So there is people on YouTube who are getting millions of views, repairing shoes, cleaning carpets, restoring paintings, doing chiropractic for dogs. Literally everything you can imagine, there's somebody who is doing this on YouTube who is being very successful. The point that I'm making is that looking at what those people are doing will give you a clue about what you can do for yourself. And the main thing that people are doing where they're finding a lot of success is through documentation. So if you are a cleaning service, I don't know what kind of cleaning it is, but for example, if you're dealing with specifically messy houses or whatever it might be, or hoarding or something like that, showing before and afters is great. Showing the actual process is great. This is true for any service business. If you're a pool cleaner, if you are a lawnmower, if you are anything, showing before and afters and showing process is very, very interesting to people. And also it is a great business card for you, because before people hire you, they already know how good you are at doing the thing that you are doing. So people will hire you because they see how good you are at doing the thing. Mostly when we are marketing our businesses, what we're trying to do is convince people that we are very good. And if, for the most part, we're convincing people that haven't actually gone through the process, so they don't actually know how good we really are at this thing. We're saying, trust me, I'm really good. But if you have been documenting and people can watch or see, you know, in before and after pictures or in videos or whatever it might be, exactly what the process is, it's a really great way to build trust. And it's a great way to create content. But as the more local you get, the more specific and more difficult it becomes. But if you are, you know, doing a service that is location-based specifically, I think Google is really going to be the place that you are going to have to win. I am looking through questions over here. Catherine is having issues adding photos on Google for posts, events, etc. They receive a pop-up saying that they're too small, but they could use a photo of the same size before. Anybody else finding this problem, and what is the solution? If anybody else is having that problem, please let Catherine know. I do not know the answer to that problem. Unfortunately, I'm so sorry, Catherine. Let's take another look over here. What is the most cost-effective way to create a website? So that's a great question that is going to depend very heavily on what you are using the website for. If it is just a website that people are looking at, for example, something like Squarespace is probably going to be great. If you have ambitions of one day selling on that website, I would say Shopify is probably going to be the best bet there. I would avoid things like Wix that offer sort of more complicated websites, but you know, that are easier to make or whatever it might be. The thing that I would say about making websites, as a person who has made many websites and tried all the website builders and all of those things, is that you should really be aiming to make it as simple as you can. And all website builders are a little bit difficult to use, so they're going to require a little bit of time and skill to do it. They're not as easy as anybody makes them sound. I think Shopify is probably the only one that's actually as easy as they make it sound if you're looking for a simple website. But without knowing what kind of website you're building specifically, I can't really say. But I do know, you know, Squarespace is a big one for websites without e-commerce. And if you are intending to have e-commerce, Shopify is going to be the one for that, because it allows you to scale, and also because the designs at this point are quite simple and quite easy to use with their website builder. I am not familiar with Weebly, Monica, but I would say take a look, if you're doing a personal website, probably take a look at Squarespace. They have a subscription model that I don't think as for the craft beer place. So I would document every single product that I have, and every time as grocery store products are arriving in all the time. So highlight a few things that you're excited about, whether you're doing that just in a visual form, whether you're just taking pictures of the product and saying, hey, guess what? We have cheese back in, or whatever it might be. or whether it's somebody actually making a video, for example, talking to camera. There's a vintage store in Toronto that I really love that does this, where they do a roundup at the end of the week of new stock that they thought would have sold, but that hasn't sold yet. And they do a roundup video, like talking to camera, saying, these are the top 10 things that we didn't think would make it to Saturday. So you don't have to take that exact idea, obviously, but it is great because you have to unpack, you have to offload the trucks or whatever it might be anyways. You're always stocking your shelves anyways. So just show people what it is that you're stocking, what it is that you're excited about. And make, a catalog where people can see all the products that you have, because whatever your differentiation factor is going to be, it's going to become self-evident when they look at either at your products or at the person who is making the content, and whether that's personality or friendliness or whatever that might be. And then last question is going to be from Eileen. I have launched one of the best single professionals community websites, which is LinkedIn for singles. What is the best way to increase signups with minimum costs? That is a great question. So one thing about LinkedIn is that LinkedIn is very, very underrated in terms of content. I think LinkedIn is a little bit starved for content, so they're very much willing to amplify content and show it to much more people. So if your thing is LinkedIn for singles, I would maybe not say LinkedIn specifically, but I would allude to that. You can make posts on LinkedIn that are free posts, and whatever your value proposition is, so whatever your current marketing pitch is that you give to people, you can make that on LinkedIn, either in videos or in a post or whatever it might be, and see how far that goes. That is one idea, just because you said LinkedIn. But the other way to increase signups with minimum cost, again, I think is going to be events. I think it's going to be events. You can have an offline event that increases the potential of your online thing. Maybe you can collaborate with the craft beer bar and have an event there that is just bringing a lot of singles together. So whatever the value proposition of your business is, whether you have the most successful singles or whatever it might be, think about what that is and think about an event that is not specific. It's not like a match. Don't do like a speed dating or whatever. Don't take away from what your actual, don't give for free what people should actually be paying for. But you can have an event that's bringing singles together. It's an event that's sponsored by this company. And then people go, hey, I'm single. I'm going to go to this craft beer bar to go to the singles event. And oh, who's this company that's sponsored by? You give a little speech at the bar and everyone knows that you exist now. That is all the time that we have for today. I am so happy with all the questions. Thank you so much, everyone, for coming, for asking the questions. I hope that even if you didn't ask a question directly, the answers were broad enough, which was my intention, to apply to all of you. And I hope that you have a great day. Thank you so much.